All right, Luigi Mangione is in the fight of his life. People versus Luigi Mangione, September 16th, 2025 on Tuesday. This is everything you need to know about Luigi Mangione's court appearance in New York on Tuesday. What I think they're going to talk about, the issues that are going to be resolved, and my predictions about how that's going to come out on Tuesday. So this is everything you need to know about Luigi Mangione and the court appearance on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. All right, I'll be relatively brief on summarizing what happened. Luigi Mangione is the alleged shooter of Brian Thompson. This happened on December 4th, 2024 in downtown Manhattan, about 6:49 or so in the morning on a busy street of New York, although it wasn't all that busy at 6:49 in the morning. Brian Thompson was on his way to an investor conference, CEO of United Healthcare, and he was shot in the back by a masked unknown assailant while preparing to go to an investor conference to talk about how much money United Healthcare was going to make that year for their investors. That shooter got away and went into Central Park and disappeared after leading law enforcement on a 5-day manhunt across the city. Very quickly, they determined that the shooter got away from New York City, even despite all of the cameras all over New York City. And 5 days later in Altoona, Pennsylvania, a man by the name of Luigi Mangione was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania. That arrest, as I have shown on various documents, court documents, along with attorneys that have come on my show, that arrest was illegal in Altoona, Pennsylvania, but the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has not yet ruled on it. So what's going to happen on Tuesday? What is going on? Luigi Mangione faces 3 different jurisdictions for various things. And I want to break that down for you, and I want to talk about what's going to happen on Tuesday, in my opinion. So here's the thing. Luigi Mangione is wanted, obviously, in New York State for the murder of Brian Thompson. They believe that he was the shooter. In Altoona, Pennsylvania, police officers identified him as the shooter. They said it was clear to them immediately that he was a shooter, which is a real trick considering the shooter had a mask on. And yeah, they're trying to say that he was seen in a hotel earlier and had lowered his mask long enough to be on camera. That's a whole story for another day. However, in Altoona, Pennsylvania, he allegedly provided false identification to a police officer. That was one of the charges they made against him. Also, forgery of documents, because he had a passport that was forged in a wrong name, and he had a driver's license that was forged in a different name. Mark Rosario was the name that Luigi Mangione allegedly used in Altoona, Pennsylvania, a driver's license and potentially a passport. So they've got him for forgery of documents, providing false identification to a police officer, and for possession of a firearm illegally in Pennsylvania, because in his backpack, when they searched his backpack, they found a firearm, a ghost gun to be more specific, a 3D printed plastic gun, if you will, that they believe was used in the commission of the murder in New York City. Now, when Luigi Mangione was arrested, and that, by the way, was an illegal arrest, I have got a million different articles about it and YouTube videos for you to watch. I'm going to show you that in just a little bit here, as far as where you can go to get educated on that if you want to bring yourself up to speed, and if you want to fact check me on why do you say it's illegal to provide a false identification to a police officer. Well, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania it is, and I've got lots of documents. We read from court documents. We talk about the appellate courts. We read from decisions. We've had attorneys on the show. It shouldn't be a question. However, it is a question in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But let's get back to New York. What's happening on Tuesday? Luigi Mangione, by the way, after he was arrested in Pennsylvania, was extradited to New York State, to New York City, to New York State for the murder of Brian Thompson by the state of New York. While he was appearing in court in the state of New York versus, or the people versus Luigi Mangione, that's what they call it, in the state of New York, the federal government swooped in and also charged Luigi Mangione in that case in a federal court. That is known as the Southern District of New York. It's the federal government in New York who operates in the Southern District of New York. And so there's another jurisdiction. So now Luigi Mangione faces charges in Pennsylvania for the false identification to a police officer and possession of a firearm. Then he got extradited to New York by the state for first-degree murder and second-degree murder. We'll talk about that in a moment. That's the charges that we're going to talk about in New York on Tuesday. First and second degree murder. That's primarily what we're dealing with on Tuesday. And then in addition to that, the federal government came in and charged him with murder, with aggravating factors, which allows them to go after the death penalty. Now, New York State does not execute people. The federal government does, or at least can. And so what happened after Luigi Mangione was arrested by the state, the federal government came in and charged Luigi Mangione with the same exact crimes, killing Brian Thompson, only they did it so that they can put him to death. And the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, now this is skipping ahead through a lot of shit, Pam Bondi announced from her bully pulpit that Luigi Mangione is probably the single person in America who deserves to be put more to death more than anyone. This despite the fact, of course, that some 300 people were murdered in New York last year and they don't get the death penalty, but Luigi Mangione is somehow the worst man in America and the most eligible for a death penalty, which his lawyer is going to argue. We'll get to that in a minute as well. So what's happening on Tuesday? Luigi Mangione is facing a hearing on his case in the People versus Luigi Mangione. That's the state case. The federal government, oddly enough, and believe me, if this is confusing to you, it should be. It's a lot of people that want Luigi Mangione. In fact, we have what's called habeas corpus arguments over who should have the body of Luigi Mangione. Should it be Pennsylvania, who first arrested him? Should it be the state of New York, who's the first person who's going to try him in a court? Or should it be the federal government, who actually is holding him right now? The federal government, by the way, is holding Luigi Mangione in a federal prison system and coordinating him going to other court systems that want him. Everyone in America wants Luigi Mangione, and I would argue only because he shot a CEO, allegedly. Let's not forget that we have the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in the court of law. But oh my God. So what are we facing in this case? Now, first of all, let me remind you as well that with the Charlie Kirk situation that's recently happened in America, there are going to be tie-ins to Luigi Mangione. There are things that are similar in those shootings. And while the media hasn't super glommed onto it, they've already started to. I've already seen it. There are things that we could talk about there as well. But let me show you on the screen a few things. So I'm going to present to you a screen of my website. This is... right here, let's put myself in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner. So there we go. This is the website devilsadvocates.info. That's my main website. On here is a link to Luigi Mangione, which I just clicked on, and the hyperlink there turns red as I click on it. Give this slow ass page a moment to load, and then I'm going to show you a few things if you're looking to get up to speed on the New York case. Here's a summary of the Luigi Mangione case that I just kind of talked to you about. Here's a bunch of dates going all the way back. I've got it as far back as 2004, but the real dates we're looking for, of course, is the shooting in December of 2024, where this all happens. Here's pictures of allegedly Luigi Mangione. I have my doubts that that's actually Luigi Mangione. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother ball of wax. But here then is the day of the shooting. All of this is outlined, details. By the way, there's links all through here with news links if you want to see the sources. So if you're just coming up to speed on Luigi Mangione, you're like, I don't understand what the big deal is. Why is everybody talking about Luigi Mangione's court appearance on Tuesday? If you don't know anything about it, here's a good way to get up to speed. By the way, the green text all there is called Follow the Money. If it's in green, it's the color of money. I've got a whole trail about how this could be about money. Anyways, they found a backpack. Here it is in this picture with Monopoly money. I'm taking a long time to get to what's going to happen in this case on Tuesday. So let me try to get there as quickly as possible. So let me show you another thing. This is Luigi Mangione's website run by his attorneys. Now, Luigi Mangione has two primary attorneys. Again, this is kind of a primer video for everything you need to know going into Tuesday's hearing. So who's his attorney? Is it Karen Agnifilo or is it Thomas Dickey? Well, it depends on what court case you're dealing with. So on Luigi Mangione, info.com. This is the official website put together by his attorney, Karen Agnifilo, because she felt that the government was not doing a good job at letting America know where the status of Luigi Mangione's trials are. And so she created this website to tell us. Here then in the middle is what's called the case update section. If you look at the litigation calendar, Tuesday, September 16th at 9 a.m. is the one we're talking about today. This is the People versus Mangione, New York State, and there's the address of that appearance in New York. Now, this should not be televised, by the way. New York has traditionally not allowed cameras in the courtroom. They've denied it before. Karen has asked for them to allow cameras in the courtroom. They've basically told her no. There's no reason why I've seen that overturned. So you should not have streaming services showing the trial online. We shouldn't see any cameras at all. We may afterwards, in case you're curious, see Karen Agnifilo come to the cameras afterwards to give us an update about what happened in the courtroom. But even last time, or one of the times before, she was hesitant to do so. She did finally at the last minute, but she originally had said she wasn't going to make a statement, but then she went ahead and did it. So will they make a statement or not? Will reporters be in the courtroom and just tell us what happened? What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen in the courtroom that day and what you can expect, in my opinion. But I could be wrong, so don't bust my nuts. All right, so here we go. That's the federal case. Now, that's the state case on Tuesday. On Friday, December 5th, is the federal case. That's the USA, United States of America, versus Mangione in the New York Federal Court, the Southern District of New York. I know it's confusing. That court case, that trial date in December is mostly going to be about setting the dates for various trials coming up in the future. This one, however, is going to get a little sticky because we're going to be fighting, in my opinion, over jurisdictional issues, habeas corpus issues, and who has the right to try Luigi Mangione. That's going to be part of what's happening on Tuesday because everybody wants a piece of Luigi Mangione. And part of what we're going to be arguing about on Tuesday is who has the right to Luigi Mangione and who's going to try him first. Here's the federal case docket. Here's the state case docket. Here's the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania docket. These are various motions that have been filed by the defense team and responses by the prosecution. It is not as fast as certain websites like Court Listener or whatever, or Pacer system or whatever, but this team, Karen Agnifilo's team, does pretty good. Now, Thomas Dickey is the attorney in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's this column right here. We're not dealing with that. We may have a residual issue related to it at this court appearance, but the one we're really looking at here is the state of New York right here down in the middle. And if you want to get to all of these things here, the motions and the replies and the motions and the replies, all of that stuff is what we're going to be talking about in court on Tuesday. So basically, Karen has made some motions for dismissal of various things, for motions of dismissal, suppression of motions. There's a possible, let me just break down what's going to happen. All right, here's what's going to happen on this court case. We have several issues, about 6 issues that are on the table that are potentially going to be talked about in New York, the people versus Mangione. 1, motions to dismiss or suppression motions filed by Karen Agnifilo, argued against by the prosecution in letters back and forth. The judge has not weighed in on it. So Karen said, hey, by the way, you should dismiss this case. You should suppress this information. You should whatever. And the prosecution's come out and said, no, you shouldn't, judge. And now we're going to hear, in my belief, the judge ruling. We're going to talk a little bit about what those things are that she wants to suppress and what she wants to dismiss and why. There's also a big issue about the psychiatric defense possibility of Luigi Mangione. Is Luigi Mangione, through his attorney, going to confess that he did the shooting? And there's a possibility for them to say, yes, he did it, but here's why he did it. He was under some kind of emotional distress. That is an option that needs to be decided very, very quickly. And therefore, I believe this court appearance is where we're going to hear. It's going to be a big one, people, because those who believe in the presumption of innocence until proven guilty are going to want to hear that Karen Agnifilo is going to say, my guy didn't do it, prove he did it. However, she may get up there on Tuesday and surprise everybody and say, yeah, our guy did it, but here's why he did it, and you should be lenient on him. Totally different story. So that's going to be the biggest thing coming out of Tuesday. Will Karen Agnifilo acknowledge that Luigi Mangione shot Brian Thompson, and yet what the jury needs to understand is there's reasons for it, and take leniency on him for that shooting? There's a scenario, and we're going to explain it in this video in case you want to spend the time with me to figure it out. There's a scenario in which Luigi Mangione could argue to have first-degree murder reduced down to manslaughter. Sorry. Let me correct that. It would, if Karen Agnifilo, I really need to correct this. If Karen Agnifilo can get first-degree murder taken off the table and it's left with second-degree murder only, she could get second-degree murder reduced to manslaughter by arguing an emotional defense. But that is an uphill battle because Karen first has to get the state of New York to agree that first-degree murder is not appropriate. They should not charge him with first-degree murder. So some of you out there might be thinking, well, how can it not be first-degree murder? You shot somebody in the back on a downtown street of Manhattan. That's first-degree murder if you ask me. Well, the counter, getting ahead of ourselves, the counter is, why not all the 300 other people that were shot and killed or murdered in New York last year? Why don't they get treated with first-degree murder? Because they don't. Why is only Luigi Mangione rising to that level of special privilege when other people have been murdered? Something like 260, 300 people. I can't remember what the exact number is now. It's all of a sudden slipping the top of my head. A lot of people, hundreds of people, have not been charged with that charge, but Luigi is. Why? So, and I think when you compare those cases, you'll see why it seems unfair in that they're going first-degree murder. So if Karen Agnifilo can successfully argue that, and that's one of the arguments, by the way, that's one of the arguments that we're going to hear on Tuesday, I think, is whether or not first-degree murder is appropriate. So one of the rulings that could happen on Tuesday is, are we going to dismiss first-degree murder? Has the state proven that first-degree murder is the correct charge, or should it be second-degree murder? If it's second-degree murder, there's a huge victory for Luigi Mangione, because then if she claims that there's an emotional defense issue, meaning that he was distraught and did these things because you have to understand where he was at in his headspace, that could reduce second-degree murder to manslaughter. And Luigi Mangione could serve as few as 5 years in prison to a maximum of 25 years in prison instead of what he's facing right now, which is life in prison without the possibility of parole. So a huge, huge issue at stake for Luigi Mangione is, can Karen get the judge to remove first-degree murder from the docket, from the charges, first-degree murder, and can she get, if it's left with second-degree murder, can she get the emotional defense argument to be put in place where Luigi Mangione has the ability to say, yeah, I did it, but here's why I did it. Now, there's another thing that's coming into play here, which is the overcharging. Yes, there's a lot. You may not want to hear this whole video. It's a lot. The overcharging. Karen Agnifilo has again successfully argued that charging Luigi Mangione in the state of New York and the federal government in New York for the same exact crimes is unfair and unconstitutional to Luigi Mangione. You are making him have to defend himself in two separate trials in two separate jurisdictions that have two separate theories about why Luigi Mangione did it. Making him defend himself in one case may incriminate himself in the other case. So Karen Agnifilo has argued, let's drop one of the cases. And in fact, what she's argued is, let's drop the state case. And we're meeting in the state. We're meeting in the state on Tuesday. She said, let's drop the state case. Let's make this a federal case only. It's the bigger case. It's the one that has death on the line. And let's go after Luigi Mangione on the death penalty case. And the state could just get dropped off. It's a lesser thing anyways. What's more grand than the death sentence? So let's just have one trial. But no, the federal government has maintained, and the state of New York has especially maintained, we will try Luigi Mangione in the state, period. End of story. We don't give a shit if the feds want to also charge him. You can charge him when we're done. So there's again, an argument, a fight that the judge needs to be ruling on. Is it appropriate for Luigi Mangione to face trial both in the state of New York and in the federal government in New York? And is the state of New York going to go first? All of those things are on the table for being discussed. We're also going to talk about scheduling timelines, and this is going to get super nuanced, but when you're talking about certain types of punishments and crimes, things have to be done, due diligence has to be done, discovery has to be done, all of those things. And so we're going to talk about these issues potentially as well. We're going to talk about violations of Luigi Mangione's constitutional rights, things such as, potentially, we're going to be talking about the district attorney being caught spying on Luigi Mangione's attorney-client privileges, listening to his phone calls. Multiple people listened to that. The state and the federal government both got privy to that personal attorney-client privilege, which is a violation of his constitutional rights. He has a right to have his attorney and him be able to talk in private. They violated that. They've done a million things to violate Luigi Mangione's constitutional rights, and so there's some constitutional issues on the table as well, including a maneuver to try to get Luigi Mangione's medical records and his doctor and client records that were private, that they used some trickery. They meaning the prosecution on one of the sides, it's nuanced, used tricks to get Luigi Mangione's doctor records between him and his doctor, which is confidential and is HIPAA related information. So Karen Agnifilo is basically making an argument. Luigi Mangione is being treated unlike nobody else. His constitutional rights are being violated every day by a system that's overzealous to try him in 3 different court systems at the same time, because they're treating him like he's the most dangerous thing that ever walked the earth. And by the way, did you mention that a whole bunch of other people got killed in New York and you're not treating him the same way? Why is this guy so fucking special if it isn't for the fact that you're treating Brian Thompson as if he's a better human being than everybody else, and we have to throw the book at somebody who kills Brian Thompson? It's not the message you want to send in America. And then we're going to talk potentially, I think, about some death penalty related motions. That one I'm not 100% sure about, because the death penalty, again, is a federal issue. And this particular case is in the state that we're having the state appearance. However, Avi Moskowitz, who's the representative of the death penalty portion, so again, complex. Karen Agnifilo is Luigi Mangione's main attorney in New York, both in the state and the federal government case. Avi Moskowitz is special counsel for the death penalty. He needs special things that he needs to prepare for, and timing that he has to prepare for, in order to properly defend against a death penalty case. That's required because death is different, is what they say in law. And so Avi Moskowitz, this could come into play in the state case as well, that the timing, while he's preparing his client and Karen's client for the death penalty in the federal case, it's going to impact them having to prepare for the state case. How can they properly prepare for the death penalty case in the federal government when they're under trial and under siege in the state case? So all of that may be talked about. So if your head isn't spinning by now, let me try to get back on some ideas about what's happening. One of the things in the reason why we're trying to discuss, and it's going to be a ruling by the judge on Tuesday potentially, about whether or not Luigi Mangione's actions rise to the level of first-degree murder, because they've added the discussion that Luigi Mangione committed this crime in furtherance of an act of terrorism. So Karen Agnifilo has argued this: where is the terrorism in this charge, to raise it to first-degree murder, and she has challenged that. So that's going to be one of the rulings. Now, again, this video is not going to be about me breaking down all of the nuances. What I want to show you really quick on my page, this is my channel on YouTube, The Devil's Advocates 2024. You'll see I have a link here for playlists. One of the playlists is Luigi Mangione, right down here. Luigi Mangione has 77. Oh, let's not do that. Let's not do that. I didn't want to do that. All I wanted to do was click on the playlist. Holy crap. The playlist. Whew. All right. There's 77 videos. If you go through here, there is all kinds of videos in here that will inform you of some of the legal arguments. There's a lot of stuff in here about the illegal arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania. A lot of comments. Karen, all those legal documents you saw, those legal documents, I break those documents down in many of these videos with the document on screen, highlighting portions. I've had attorneys come on and we talk about those legal documents ad nauseum. There's a big word for you. So again, there's some people who bust my nuts and say, you know, Devil's Advocates, other people actually cover the court documents. You just talk. I've covered court documents. It's all here. Check it out if you want to get that level of granular detail. So, we're going to talk about the suppression of evidence. There's a really, in particular, the medical issue, the HIPAA violation, and whether they can use those is going to come up. There's a really tough one that I'm not sure they can deal with on Tuesday. And that is the fact that, in my opinion, the arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania was illegal. A judge over there in Pennsylvania has been cowardly, in my opinion, by not wanting to rule on it, because it should be a clear case of illegal arrest. They never read Luigi Mangione his Miranda rights for 17 minutes. He was interrogated. He was separated from his belongings. He was Terry frisked. His backpack was searched. He was never informed he was under investigation. In fact, he was flat out told he wasn't under investigation, which was a lie. He was under investigation. After they did that for 17 minutes, a seasoned officer said, by the way, has anybody read him his Miranda rights? And they're like, no. And then they fucked up. They read him his Miranda rights. And then from that point out, he stopped talking. So that's a Miranda violation. All the stuff that happened before that should be fruit of the poisonous tree. Therefore, it was an illegal search. It was an illegal detention. And that's what his lawyer is arguing in Pennsylvania, Thomas Dickey, is that was an illegal arrest. And again, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is being cowardly and doesn't want to rule on it, because they realize this man is the most wanted man in America. And if they admit they made a fuck up, pardon my French, if they admit they made a mistake in Pennsylvania and he shouldn't have been arrested in the first place, all of that evidence they have against him, like a confession letter that was supposedly on him, and the gun that was used in the commission of the crime that was supposed to be on him, and a manifesto, which, don't get me started on the manifesto. It's not a manifesto. We've talked about that a million times. It's all through my videos. It's not a freaking manifesto. It never was. It's not a manifesto. Anyways, they call it a manifesto all over the place. Luigi Mangione had a manifesto. He did not have a manifesto. The point being is that if you want to get educated about this stuff, I got tons of articles about it. The point being is that it was an illegal arrest. His attorney in California, his attorney in New York State and the federal government, Karen Agnifilo, also responded and said, hey, by the way, that arrest in Pennsylvania is illegal. And yet, the feds and the state are using evidence obtained in that illegal arrest in Pennsylvania to bring charges against my guy, here in New York. How is it that you're doing that? You're only doing it because, again, Pennsylvania is too cowardly to rule on it. So, by the way, November 7th is the date when the Commonwealth, did I say California again? Oh my God, I hope I didn't say California again. November 7th is the date that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is supposed to do a hearing of some kind, and it should be to tell us once and for all, Judge, was that an illegal arrest? It should have been an illegal arrest. If it was an illegal arrest, how is it that we are presenting the information found in an illegal arrest in court in New York? It's putting the cart before the horse. I think that's the term. The cart before the horse. So, also at issue here is the issue of habeas corpus. And I realize this may be dry for a lot of people. So let me try to wrap this up as quickly as possible because I realize that you're probably checking out. But again, I'm trying to bring you up to speed as much as possible. What's going to happen on Tuesday? Everyone's fighting over habeas corpus. What is habeas corpus? I have the body essentially is essentially what habeas corpus means. It's who has the right to detain Luigi Mangione. The short answer is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was the first to arrest Luigi Mangione. They have the right to detain Luigi Mangione, and they are the ones who are supposed to bring charges against the man, have him appear in court, or let him go. And that time clock is running out. They've been holding him for damn near a year now. Damn near a year. Again, December 9th is when he was arrested. November 7th is when they're having a date. It's almost a year. There's a reason why I think that court case is coming up, because they have an obligation to charge him within the year or let the charges go. So they have to deal with the issue. But somehow that Weasley little New York state is going to bring their charges and their case against Luigi Mangione before Pennsylvania does their official ruling on it. And then Pennsylvania will rule on whether it was legal or not. It puts a really, really interesting spin on the whole thing. So will we talk at this court case? Will Karen Agnifilo bring up how is it that you can use information on my guy in this case that hasn't even been deemed to be legal, that we don't even know that that was a legal arrest? Lots of shit to pay attention to in this case. And the habeas corpus issue is this. Thomas Dickey played a maneuver, a chess game of legal posturing to say, you are required, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, to request Luigi Mangione be allowed to come to Pennsylvania to appear in person on the charges being presented before him. We have the right to face our accusers. Traditionally, that means you have the right to look them in the eye and be in the courtroom. New York federal government, the federal government in New York is trying to say Luigi Mangione can appear on a Zoom call. That's good enough. The attorney in Thomas Dickey in Pennsylvania said, no, it's not good enough. The letter of the law states that you have the right to appear in person. Therefore, Thomas Dickey asked the prosecution, the district attorney in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, to do his job, which is to demand custody of Luigi Mangione to be turned over to the state Commonwealth of Pennsylvania so that he can be brought in to face charges in person in Pennsylvania. Are you following me so far? So Thomas Dickey successfully got the district attorney to say, you're right, we have an obligation to at least request Luigi Mangione be allowed to come to Pennsylvania to appear in person. They've made that request. The federal government, the U.S. Marshals, who are in charge of holding prisoners and transporting prisoners, have already stated, we have no intention of letting Luigi Mangione leave the state of New York. He will not be appearing in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it is freaking good enough that he appears on a Zoom call. You're just going to have to live with it. But Thomas Dickey successfully got the district attorney to agree, but by letter of law, Luigi Mangione is allowed to appear in person. So That fight is also going to take place potentially here. Karen Agnifilo may point out, you guys need to make a ruling over who owns Luigi Mangione, because the state, you guys in the state where we're appearing on Tuesday, you guys say that you're going to try Luigi Mangione first, and yet you don't even have possession of Luigi Mangione. The federal government, it has possession of Luigi Mangione. And now they're telling him he can't appear in Pennsylvania about a case that may impact this case because that was an illegal arrest in Pennsylvania and you won't let him go. Well, the federal government won't let them go. Somebody needs to fucking hold somebody accountable and figure out who the hell owns Luigi Mangione. So there's a lot on the case. This has been about a half hour. I think it's a good primer. I want to point out that I'm going to link a whole bunch of videos in my notes for you, I believe. Things that'll talk about the illegal arrest in Pennsylvania, which may or may not come out. The big takeaway from Tuesday, in my opinion, this is the one that's going to be the monster thing. Will Karen Agnifilo, on behalf of Luigi Mangione, change her defense or tip her hat that the defense will now become a defense of some kind of mental health issue, specifically EED, extreme emotional disturbance. I think EED, I think is what the term stands for. EED is extreme emotional disturbance or distress. I think it's basically a crime of passion. If Karen wants to admit, if she wants to admit that Luigi Mangione did the shooting, but that he was under extreme emotional disturbance, then she will have to say, now we have to show to a court, to a jury, what was going on in Luigi Mangione's mind that it became important for him to shoot Brian Thompson. It's a really nuanced situation, because a jury in an EED defense does not need to believe that a reasonable person would have done what Luigi Mangione did. If they go that way, I can't reiterate this enough. We don't know that they're going to go that way. This is the big issue at hand on Tuesday. Will the defense say, yeah, Luigi Mangione did it, but here's why he did it defense? That's the EED defense. And they have to make that decision very soon. I think it's going to happen Tuesday. That's the big thing. They're going to tip their hat. Are they saying Luigi Mangione didn't do it, so prove that he did? Or is they saying, yeah, he did do it, but let us explain why. And let's take first-degree murder off the table. That's what they're going to try, right? And let's make it a second-degree murder case. And we're going to try it under the emotional defense, the extreme emotional defense, and see if we can argue that this was something that's manslaughter and not murder in the first degree. So there you go. In a nutshell, what is at stake on Tuesday in the People versus Luigi Mangione is, in my prediction, 2 or 3 major things. Karen's going to try to get a ruling on the first degree charge being reduced and taken off the table so that it's not first degree murder and it's left with second degree murder. If the judge agrees that it is second degree murder and not first degree murder, then she may submit a request to say extreme emotional disturbance. Let us explain why Luigi Mangione did it. Or she might say, we're not going for an emotional defense or a mental health defense because our guy didn't do it. We're going to find out, I think, Tuesday, and that's the big one. Will the defense say Luigi Mangione did it or he didn't do it? Do you have to prove your case that he did it, or do we just have to prove why he did it and have our day in court? Those are enormous issues. So again, at the end of the day, I just want to remind you that how you feel about the matter isn't as important as watching the legal play, the legal fight, making sure that the Constitution is followed, that those who have already violated the United States Constitution should be held accountable. Even if Luigi Mangione did the things that they claim that he did, even if he did, and let's not forget that he has a presumption of innocence until proven guilty in the court of law. But even if he did those things, and even if on Tuesday, Karen Agnifilo, his attorney, says, yeah, my guy did it, but you have to understand why he did it, you still have to play by the law. And therefore, even the district attorney needs to play by the law. Even all of the court system, the law enforcement has to play by the law. And if they violated Mr. Mangione's constitutional or civil liberties in any way, shape, or form, they need to be held accountable. So we're going to see how this plays out. Big day on Tuesday. I will try to have further points. Tuesday night happens to be my Luigi Mangione night. So on Mondays, I go with Birdie Bombshell. We normally talk about Idaho 4. On Tuesday night is normally my Luigi Mangione night. So Tuesday is going to be the court case at 9 in the morning. I'm going to be spending all day after that breaking down and trying to figure out what exactly just happened at the courthouse, so that by Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will talk about Luigi Mangione and what the implications are of what happened on September 16th, right? 2025. Pay attention. It's a big, big, big case. And like I said, this is going to have tie-ins to the Charlie Kirk murder. Not saying, please understand, not saying that Luigi Mangione inspired the shooting of Charlie Kirk. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the media has already pointed out that there's several connection points between that shooting and this one. And they, I believe, will try to make the jump that Luigi Mangione somehow inspired that shooting. They're going to do that because they're trying to make Luigi Mangione the most dangerous and most hateful person in America so that they can execute him in the federal government case. So hold your hats. It's a big, big constitutional fight and a great way for you to learn the American legal system, the justice system, and how mainstream media works. Until next time, Devil's Advocates out.